Hello, everyone, and as always, welcome back to my channel. I'm just laughing because my dog is standing next to me and wants some attention, but we're still going to film this video. Welcome back to my channel, and if it's your first time, welcome to my channel. My name is Marlene, and I talk about eating disorder recovery and everything related to healing the relationship with your own body, with food, and with movement. And today I want to talk about unexpected things that can become very hard in recovery that, as the name says already, are not expected or that you didn't expect when you start recovery. Because oftentimes we think that the hardest part of recovery will be the weight gain and will be eating more and will be challenging the fear foods, which oftentimes have to do with weight gain. No, don't get me wrong. I'm very, very aware that there are different kinds of eating disorders. I am also aware, just because some people want to always remind me in my comments, but guys, I'm a recovery coach. I have different trainings in the field, and I'm also not only working with restrictive eating disorders. Most eating disorders have something to do with body image. I'm also aware that not all eating disorders have to do with body image. I'm very aware that there are some people who never experienced any issues with their body image. And again, I'm very aware of that. But today I want to talk about things that can become hard in recovery. Some of them will have to do with body image and some of them won't. So oftentimes people think, okay, the hardest part will be to challenge those eating disorder rules, to either eat something that scares me, to eat something that I haven't eaten in such a long time, to handle the bodily changes, anything connected with that. And don't get me wrong, for a lot of people, these are extremely hard things and maybe even the hardest, if you can even define it like that. But there are also some things that might be a little bit more subtle that are extremely common. And today I want to talk about that from my personal experience and also from my experience as a recovery coach, because there are quite a few that people always say, oh my God, this is so weird. Why is this so frustrating for me? Or why is this so hard for me? And I can reassure them, this is not just you. This is actually pretty common. Number one is getting overwhelmed while cooking, getting overwhelmed in the store, getting overwhelmed in any of those food situations. Oftentimes we think, if I have the full allowance to eat whatever I want, I'm just going to go to the store and I'm just going to grab anything and then it's going to be okay. Well, that sounds great in theory, but in practice, unfortunately, it's oftentimes not working like this at all. Oftentimes, you're going to get to the store and it's going to be completely overwhelming. Maybe you get there at a time where there's a lot of people, then you're also going to be overstimulated, and then you're going to have the ED voice in your head, and you also have the recovery voice in your head, and maybe you have in your head what your recovery coach told you, or your dietitian, or whoever you're working with, and then it's just going to become extremely overstimulating, extremely overwhelming. Some people actually run out of a store. I have definitely done that before when I was in recovery. Some people even get a panic attack, and all these things are horrible experiences, and I feel deeply for everyone who gets so overwhelmed in a situation like this. And at the same time, I want you to know that you're not alone with this. Unfortunately, this is something that is rather common in recovery, and it of course has to do with a lot of things, from, again, the two different voices, all the numbers that you have learned during your eating disorder, all the food rules, and now you want to challenge the food rules. And then sometimes it's even the overwhelm of having too much to choose from and not even knowing where to start. When I started recovery, I didn't even know. Like, there were so many options all of a sudden, what I could have eaten, and then it was too overwhelming. And sometimes I would just go back to my safe foods even. The same thing can also happen when you're, for instance, cooking. Maybe you have bought those things already. Maybe you got out of the grocery store and you survived that, and you're at home and you start cooking, and you either use a recipe and all of a sudden it says oil, and you're taking that oil and then you think, oh my God, this is way too much. I've never used that much oil. This is way too much. And then you try to remove the oil again. And, I've heard it all and I've been through it all. And I just want you to know that you are not alone in these situations. Of course, I would advise you to work through this with somebody, to make some kind of plan, to talk to somebody about it. Maybe you even have somebody close to you who can help you with those kind of things. But at the same time, I want you to know that you're not alone with it. Again, getting help with it can be extremely helpful and extremely important so that you don't get too overwhelmed and maybe even step back into old patterns. And at the same time, you're not alone with it. The next thing that can be unexpectedly hard in recovery is to get out of your eating disorder routines. I remember when I had an eating disorder, my routines were so strict and so much the same every day, from having the same amount of steps that I had to take, my exercise, going to the store every day around the same time, which was kind of like my ritual when the day was over, grabbing the same kind of foods, having the same kind of rituals in the kitchen, always like cutting all my vegetables and all of my safe foods, like everything that plays into it. And to me, it was extremely hard when I didn't have those rituals anymore. On the one hand, I didn't really know what to do with my time. And on the other hand, I just, felt lazy, felt undisciplined, felt like a failure, all those nice things that the eating disorder would tell me. And it was just so frustrating. And even more frustrating was the dopamine high that I got at the end of the day when I got through the day. Because it was not fun to do all those things. It was really not fun to walk around and to not eat and to be hungry and to feel like I'm dizzy all the time. But making it through the day without eating gave me such a dopamine high and such a feeling of pride and peace at night, so that I could actually enjoy eating at night. And I'm very aware that this is just me. Many eating disorders look very different, don't get me wrong. But that dopamine high is something very common in eating disorders. For some people, it is after they are purging, after they are over-exercising, after they stuck to some kind of plan, after they made it through the day, you name it. And that dopamine high might go away or will go away because you're not doing those eating disorder things anymore. And this was so tough for me that I actually got a little bit depressed from it. And I'm not using the term loosely as in, oh my God, I was a little bit sad. No, I got very depressed in my recovery. This is a topic for another story. I definitely am very willing to talk about it. So let me know in the comments if you do want to hear about it. But it's just something that I really missed. And not having that dopamine high at night anymore was so much harder than I thought. Because again, I didn't even feel that peace after I got through the day. And I really missed that peace. And same thing with like eating rituals. Certain rituals that I had, like I would always watch a certain show at night while eating. I would always eat by myself. And then again, other people have completely opposite rituals. But I missed them. I really missed them. And I wasn't prepared for that. And I wasn't aware that it was going to be so hard. The next thing that was really challenging for me, and I know for a fact that it can be very challenging for a lot of people too, is after a while to lose interest in food a little bit. So a lot of people in the honeymoon phase of recovery, when they are first allowed to eat more, when they give themselves the allowance to eat more, they are really so excited and so happy, and they want to try everything. And after a while of doing that, they might lose interest. At the same time, many people have that same interest, or like a certain type of interest for food, when they have an eating disorder because they are deprived from food, or they have a hyper focus on food, or they have binge restrict cycles, or you name it. And so I remember personally, for me, that was finding new low-calorie food, finding new sugar-free versions of something, new recipes, all of that, because I was always like, oh my God, this is so amazing. I can have this sugar-free, gluten-free, carb-free, calorie-free cookie, and it's gonna taste exactly like a cookie, which of course it didn't. But in my eating disorder, I told myself that, and I was excited because I had something quote-unquote delicious. Today, I would probably not even look at it anymore, and I could still save up some calories. And so when I was in recovery, it was so confusing because I was back in Germany, and there were like new fitness brands coming out, and I saw those things, and I was kind of like, I wanted to look at them, and then I was like, no, you're in recovery, you don't need that anymore, but it's sugar-free. And so that whole confusion around the whole topic. And then for other people, it's the complete opposite. Other people might have experienced that their eating disorders helped them with not having food as a focus because they avoided it so much, or they were eating the same thing every day and like had their same routines, that it was not a topic. And all of a sudden it's becoming a topic because they want to challenge their eating disorder and because they're eating other things. And all of a sudden it becomes overwhelming because something that they didn't actively think about before all of a sudden becomes a thing. So either way, those things can also be extremely challenging, and we didn't experience or expect them in the beginning of recovery. I actually decided to split this video in 2 parts, so I'm gonna make another part about this. Let me know in the comments which unexpected challenges you are facing or you faced in your recovery, and then we can talk about it in the second part. Thank you so much for making it so far, and I will see you in the next one.